Welcome to Church of the Chair, where we celebrate all the things we do while seated. I'm your host E, and today I'm talking to Mr. Doyle of a great undertaking. How you doing tonight, Mr. Doyle?
Hey, I'm doing well, E. Thanks for having me on your channel. This is really cool.
Definitely. The main point of this video is I want to bring as many of my people to your channel as humanly possible. I'm a massive fan of your content. I've been binging your videos ever since Brad Perkins, put me onto you. And I got to say, mad respect for the production quality. First off, second off, taking the time to write the scripts. Because I don't even write scripts. I do. I wing it, and then I'll go back and I'll edit the video. Well, nowadays, back in the day, I used to just ramble. Right off the bat, I want to ask you, why did you pick King? What does King mean to you? Why was that the author that you had to latch on to for this one?
All right. Well, so initially, it was because I had found an old copy of The Shining in my parents' basement, and my wife was doing a test one day, and I had to stay out in the car for about. And so this is well over a decade ago now, and I opened up that book and I was so enthralled by it, and it was kind of what brought me back to like being an active reader. That was something I had done pretty regularly throughout my life, and then sometime in my mid 20s, I just kind of, you know. I got really into making music. I wanted to be in a band, and like every free moment I had, I was playing guitar. And so picking up that book really rekindled that need to read. And before I knew it, I was just reading every book in the bibliography in chronological order because I couldn't stop. It was like a voracious, I have to do this kind of thing. And so within a year, I had bought all of the books and then had them in order on my shelf of, reading order, of course. Yes, I know I'm not alone in this.
I know the compulsion, my friend. I know the
Um,
compulsion.
but essentially, when it came time to make the channel, it was COVID shutdown had happened. I was not working for the first time since I was like 14 years old. Child labor, woo. And and it was one of those things where, believe it or not, until 2020, I hadn't really ever spent any time watching YouTube. And
Really?
then, yeah, I was always a music guy. And then I got into books. And it took me a long time to even get a smartphone. When all of my friends had one, I still didn't. And so eventually, I would get into social media. And then it took me a while longer to get into streaming music, which, still maybe not the greatest thing to do, but
No.
yeah.
We,
But
we all do it. We all do it.
yeah, we're all
So
guilty.
so you have something in common with King because he refused for the longest time to buy a cell phone. There's the infamous biography at the end, well, in the dust jacket of Cell, that says he lives in Maine with his wife, writer Tabitha King, and he does not own a cell phone.
Yes,
And now he's on Twitter constantly,
I
which is
know.
hilarious to me. But anyways, continue.
No, it's fine. Yeah, King is somewhat terminally online these days, but I do enjoy that, he is always giving someone a good rousing. I've always enjoyed the fact that he just kind of is like, this is what I feel about a thing, and I know it's going to be controversial and people are going to be mad at me, but I'm going to say it anyway. And I respect that about the man. Um, but yeah, in terms of the YouTube channel, I was like, okay, everything's shut down. What am I doing with myself? How can I keep busy? I'll start a YouTube channel. What do I know a lot about? Stephen King was pretty much the only thing. I was like, well, I can play guitar, but I'm not really that great at it. I can, I like motorcycles, but I'm not smart enough to fix them by myself, so
So no
uh,
mechanics, no music.
that's right. It just narrowed itself down really quickly. And, there's lots of information. If you don't know a thing, you can just go and find the information.
Definitely.
So yeah, Stephen King kind of happened by default because it was the thing. It was that one obsession I'd had for a long time. That I was like, all right, I probably have something to say about all of these things.
Now, to build off of that, are you do you reread these books, or are you reading them now as you're doing the series, as well, and as you're doing your videos? Do you reread them before you do the video, or is it all online research, unless you don't want to tell your secrets? That's
No,
completely
no,
fine.
that's that absolutely. I reread every single one before I make the video,
Nice.
because I have found that at the rate that I was reading them initially, um, I didn't retain a lot. Or there's so many. Oh, there's a little hair floating through the air.
You see
Anyway,
a bug flying around. So if you see me go like this, it has nothing to do. You don't stink or anything. I just got a bug flying around here. Anyway,
yeah. So, oh, geez, what was I saying? I'm sorry.
I,
I digress.
I do the same thing, so I apologize.
No, I
You were
shouldn't have tried to
saying
grab. I shouldn't have tried to grab the hair. Everything would have been fine if I hadn't squirreled out on that hair floating through the air.
that's it. Show's over. Get out of here. No, I'm
Uh,
kidding. But it it was we were talking about the I believe we were talking about the shooting of each video and rereading each
oh,
one
right.
uh, before every single video.
Yes,
Anyway, so if you recall what you want to say from there,
I
that's
do.
fine.
I
Okay,
do.
go ahead.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Yes. So I do. Technically, I'm not rereading anymore. I'm audio booking these days because I have found I either don't have time to sit down and read a book for any length of time, or I will like pass out within 5 minutes of sitting down and trying to read a book. Like I'm 41 now, so like my body is just like as soon as I get comfortable, especially if it's like after dinner on a nice quiet evening.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I found audiobooks to be very helpful. I take a lot of notes as I'm listening, little phrases that catch my attention. But this time around, I'm listening with a more like I'm looking for something below the surface that I can latch on to and make a video about. Um, and that's mainly just because I found that when I started, I was doing more of a let's talk about each character in the book, let's talk about the plot, kind of standard booktuber stuff.
Mhm.
But that kind of got boring for me after a little while, and it was like the weirder stuff, like what if Carrie was actually a supervillain and that was her origin story and she grew into this nightmare phoenix creature, and just to theorize about that sort of stuff was way more fun than just recapping and revisiting what the book was about. So yeah, I just found myself wanting to say, all right, what is in here that I can pull out
Right.
that maybe nobody else has really talked about yet?
Well, you do an absolutely fantastic job.
Thank you.
The I was we were talking we've been talking for those of you in chat, and we will get to questions here in a little bit, Brad. I want to get some other stuff out. But this is one of the things that I'm most impressed with. And we were talking beforehand, and I just want to reiterate this. The very first video I watched of yours was it. And I was taken aback by having read it 18 times up until this point and having never caught the theme of childhood trauma. That blows my mind that that completely escaped me. But there's something else that you said in the video, and I don't want to get political, but you made an allegory for extremist mindsets and the resurfacing or the surfacing of those mindsets being akin to Pennywise, his hibernation cycle and everything, and how he comes out back into the world. I thought that was absolutely brilliant. I really don't have a question about that. I just want to let you know how fucking smart I think you are, because I get quite a bit when I'm reading these books, and I love literary fiction, so I read deeply. But that was the one thing that I missed. That it was about the resurfacing, of childhood trauma and having to go back and bury that. And it makes so much more sense. In fact, you were the one I mentioned in another video that I was going to go back and read it for the 19th time, and you're one of the reasons why I want to go back and read it for the 19th time, because I am once again going to hopefully find something new when I read it. Which brings me to I love circular narratives, which brings me to the next question, which is your favorite Stephen King book. Do you have one? And if so, why?
God, this question always
Yeah.
stresses me out because you always feel like you're going to say an answer and immediately be like, but no, actually, it's this one. So I have kind of I have my knee jerk response, and then I have kind of the one that if I think about it a little longer, uh, I'll go, okay, no, maybe it's that one. And then I also have well, if it weren't for that one, then I wouldn't have read any of these.
Shit, tell
So
me all of them. I don't
so
care.
I got to give
We
you
got
all
time.
three. I
Yeah,
got to give you all three.
gimme. They want to
Okay.
hear too. Go.
All right. So my knee jerk favorite is, for whatever reason, I can't fully understand myself, Under the Dome. I know it's kind of an
Okay.
unusual pick, but
No, fair.
it was, and it's something I've talked about in some of my recent videos, is King's ability to create the microcosm. And with that particular cast of characters, um, he creates this, there's a social message going on there, and a lot more than just that. And for whatever reason, the Rennies, Big Jim and his son, were like captivating characters for me. Rennie Senior, in that he had that, politician
Mhm.
angle to him, and that veneer of who he pretended to be versus who
Right.
he really was. And then Junior, who was just kind of an unbridled maniac from the start, like the
Yep.
first scene he is in, before he even knows the dome has come down. Uh,
I
and
love it.
so, yeah, I don't know. So that's the knee jerk response. The one where I think about it more deeply is Cujo. Um, and for that one, it was this, and I talked about it in my video for Cujo. There's this intimate relationship you come to develop with these characters, who are also very desperate in their own special ways to escape a loveless, abusive marriage, to just get out of that small town. There's this, I can't even remember the name of it now. It was a phobia of being trapped.
Mhm.
And everybody in that book has this way that they are trapped in their own unique way. And
Even Cujo. Yeah.
even, yes, exactly. He was a
Mhm.
good boy. That was a good
Yep.
dog. That was not his fault.
Nope.
Justice for Cujo.
Justice
Um,
for Cujo. Damn it.
and
Damn kitty.
and that has, I would say, two, like from what I've read, like my rereads for the channel, from Carrie all the way up until Needful Things, the ending to Cujo is easily the most devastating, gut wrenching ending to any of those books, for me personally. Um, and then the third pick is The Shining, and there's lots of obvious reasons for that. And honestly, I wish I could go back and remake, and I might still remake my videos for some of those earlier King publications.
Hey, I'm
The,
doing it now. I don't blame you.
right, the Redux series. I've been
Yes,
watching them.
exactly. Yeah.
The
Thank
funny,
you. Appreciate it.
it's really funny. I realized today that I am subscribed to you on a different YouTube account. I've been watching you from my band account this whole time. So if
Yeah,
you
I don't pay
notice,
attention anyway. So I never would have noticed because I don't watch my that's not something I look at. So I never you
gotcha.
told on yourself. No,
Well,
I'm
I
just
wanted
kidding.
to
I'm
be
kidding.
honest in case I was caught here. But
No.
well, because I told you when you commented, it was like, oh my God, I watch your videos all the time. And then I was like,
You
all right,
did.
he's gonna see that I just subscribed today and be like, that son of a bitch, he never watched any of my videos. Um,
I've done
but
the same.
anyway,
I've done the same thing on Twitter, on here. It's like I could have swore I was subscribed to you, and like I told you at the beginning, I have many different names. So yeah,
yeah,
it
yeah.
happens. I understand. Anyways, you were talking about the Shining.
Yeah, so The Shining for me is, it's the one that, like I said earlier, rekindled that desire to read, and was like my first time of really being like fully absorbed in a book in my adulthood, to the point where I was like, I am super into this. Whereas, for the previous decade, all I wanted to do was party and play rock and roll music and be a degenerate. So, in all honesty, like, it turned me into a bit of a bookworm, which, I think made me a better dad too.
Yeah,
I didn't have the desire to go out and to be a wild man anymore. I wanted to stay home and quietly read books and spend time with my family.
my
So,
guy. Yep.
Pow. So those are the three: Under the Dome, Cujo, and The Shining. Because I just cannot seem to narrow it down to one.
Okay. That all valid. I have my own opinions of those books, and some of them are not good, but we're not going to talk about that. I'm
Let's
gonna let
uh let's do a separate stream for each one of those books and talk about those books
let's
specifically.
yeah, let's do that, and then
Awesome.
I can mention my own favorites, and then we can just go back and forth on that.
Please, yeah.
So I want to touch on something. You are a father, you said, up to, and I know from the beginning of the video, well, not beginning of the video. Like I said, we've been talking for 30 minutes before we even went live. So you have a younger kid and you have an older kid. Well, of course, but you know, they got some years, but do either one of them, what I'm getting at is, do either one of them read King yet?
That's a negative.
Negative.
I think my daughter will eventually get there. She's too young, I think, to. And I found out the hard way that if you try to offer it to them and say, "Hey, check this out. It's really cool. You're gonna love it," they're gonna
Mhm.
go, "Nah."
Absolutely right.
Yeah, so I tried doing that with musical instruments earlier on, and the guitar and the drums have just collected dust since then that I got for my son for his birthday.
Okay.
So I left it alone. They come down here into my top secret man lair in the basement on occasion, and we'll look at my books, and I can see there's some
Yeah.
curiosity there. But I'm hoping that my daughter will be interested in Cycle of the Werewolf eventually here,
Oh yeah.
because she's just getting into anime, and oh my gosh, I am gonna completely make a fool of myself. I can't even think of the style of the graphic novels that she's into now. They're
M-
uh
Manga.
yes, thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah. You're
There it
welcome.
is.
I thought that's but at first I thought you said it. I guess it was my own brain filling in the blanks because I heard anime and instantly thought manga. So I didn't want to, repeat what you had already said. But anyways, that's how my brain works.
No,
Uh,
that's great. No,
Sounds
you
a little.
did not, in fact, hear me say it. You heard me trying really hard to think it.
I read your mind. Got some. Not Carrie. Who would be? Whatever. Anyways. But so with my kids, I found the same thing out very early also. And it was with, once again, we have a lot in common, by the way. And if you didn't catch my reaction to you saying you're 41 years old, I'm 42, so we're about the same age also. With my oldest, I gave them a guitar and was like, do what you want with it, I'd like to play with you sometime if you get into it. Nothing happened. Years went by, almost a decade, and now they play all the time. But I just happened we were riding down the road one day, and this is when the oldest one was, I think, 15 or 16. And they just happened to say, by the way, I listened to Carrie. And I'm like, you did? Like, they know, of course. I mean, I'm a fanboy at home, just like I'm a fanboy on the channel, right? So I was like, oh, you did? And then we started talking more, and we even did 2 episodes of a podcast where it was Dan and Dan and E. Uh, anyways, but we did Carrie, and then we did one that was a combined The Shining and Doctor Sleep. To say that I was proud would be the understatement of the century. To know that they had caught all the themes and they had their own opinions, and even that they were cool to disagree with me about certain things was just absolutely fantastic for me. And most recently, we were on our way to Georgia, which is about 3 hour drive, and I needed to finish Fairy Tale for the channel because people were chomping at the bit to get it done. And my youngest, my son, he goes, what is this? I was listening to the audiobook in the car, and I thought he was asleep, but he goes, what is this? It sounds really cool. And I don't know if you've gotten to Fairy Tale yet. I'm trying. You have? Okay, good. But not, I'm still trying not to spoil anything. But we got to a big action sequence in in Empress, in the very first big action sequence, with the what, what is it, the not the blue guys, I guess is the best way to put it. And that's when he started paying attention. So he went back and he started listening to it on Scribd by himself after I gave him the approval after listening to the entire thing, that he could watch it. And he was 10 at the time, and now he's asking me, what else can I read? Unfortunately, at this point in time, I'm like, Eyes of the Dragon and Fairy Tale. that's about all we got right now.
Sorry, kid.
Which brings me to what I want to talk about next, which we are far enough into the video to bring this up, and that is Stephen King's awkward ass sex scenes and sexual content. I have the same opinion you do, and what I want to ask you. And what do you think, other than that scene in It? Because I don't even like talking about that one. What is the worst one you can think of? Because for me, it's Salem's Lot. The Susan and what is it, Ben Mears, or is that the kid? I can't remember right off the top of my head, but that was, what is he? They say something like "love me," and he loved her. It's it's so weird and awkward. But I want to, even if it is weird and awkward, I want to know what you think is probably the most heinous offense he has committed, other than that scene.
Okay, so outside of that scene, I have a particular beef with the sex scene from The Mist. So, and I've talked about this, and I did an entire video about how the dude in The Mist is a horny weirdo. He's trapped in the grocery store. His son is there with him. He meets the girl, Amanda Dumfries, for the first time, and he thinks, wow, she's kind of hot. And while watching her sleep, because some of her midriff is exposed, he gets a hard on. And I'm like, what, dude? What? You're in the midst of the apocalypse. Your wife is probably dead. You just found two guys dead in the cooler who'd hung themselves. And then they go have sex. And I'm just like, that would not happen. I'm so sorry, Mr. King. Not in a million years would anyone who just lived through what this man lived through be like, that would be a good time for some fucking. No.
I thought for sure you were going to say The Wastelands, because that was one of the funniest quotes I can think of. They're just like, Adetta, Susanna, hate fucking a demon.
Yo, that video has done worse than any video I've posted in a long time, and I'm convinced it's because I bleeped it every time I said it. But no, that video performed worse than anything I've put out. Like, of my last 10 videos, that is number 10.
They might have. Well, what YouTube might have done is they might have suppressed it, because you do talk about, you do say sex and, that stuff. So YouTube might have suppressed it. I don't know. But also, I bump into this a lot where people don't like The Wastelands. So it's not something that they're actively looking for.
That's true. That's true.
Damn near everyone I know drools all over the drawing of the three. And of course, I mean, you have the epic scene, Balthazar, whatever it is, the epic gunfight in the
the gangsters.
Exactly. Then you have everything with Detta, Susanna. That's so confusing every time. But anyways, but you with The Wastelands, I hear that one was just too batshit for people, which I kind of get, but that's the King that I like. That's the King that I covet, is Regulators. Whether you got the shape-shifting fucking clown. I mean, come on, man. It's amazing. But I really like his weird stuff, and having a sentient, psychopathic fucking monorail train is top tier for me. I love Blaine, and ever since I was a kid, I've been listening to people complain about Blaine the monorail, Blaine the pain, and I love that thing. It's and even though it was a cliffhanger, we literally had to wait years for the next one, only to get, I'm not a fan of Wizard and Glass, I'm going to say this now, but only to get Wizard and Glass up next and the journey not move forward. And then how long it was between Wizard and Glass and Wolves of the Kala.
Oh.
Anyways, but
You see, now I didn't experience that in real time
I
because
did.
all those books had already come out by the time I was a King simp all of a sudden. So, but
Got
I will,
lucky, brother.
for real though, like going from the Wastelands to Wizard and Glass, and all of a sudden, like realizing, oh, we're not resolving this in this book. I don't know if you were a big fan of The Walking Dead when they initially came out, but
Yes, the first 3 seasons.
they would do some stuff like that on occasion where they'd be like, cliffhanger, new episode next week. Here we go. Oh, we're just going to do the backstory of that one guy.
Yep. Unfortunately. And I didn't like that either.
No,
I hated that. Breaking Bad did that once or twice too, and that aggravated the piss out of me.
Yeah.
But with King, I think it's easier, especially from a reader or viewer standpoint. It's easier to get away with that with a television show than it is for a book, especially when you don't plan on writing the next book right after it. Yeah. And that's I think that's where some of the vitriol comes from when people think about that space and time. But with me, the way I look at that series is you have the Gunslinger is the prologue. It's just a 300-page prologue. That's all it is. Any other author who had done that, it would have been the first 20, 30 pages of, the drawing of the three.
Yeah.
Even it would have started with the Battle of Tull and then jumped right into the drawing of the three. Literally any other author. I believe that with my whole chest. And then the second book is character introductions for who you're going to be traveling with the rest of the journey, which is a wild fucking thing to do, to write an entire book of just character introductions.
Yeah.
And the reason why I love the Wastelands is because that's when the journey starts going. That's when we have everybody on board. We get Jake through the weirdest fucking possible way, but everybody's together. She's hate fucking a semen demon, and then we save Jake, and we're moving on. And then Wizard of Glass, bam, you hit a wall, and all of a sudden this mystery man that has it's such a secretive person. We now know his damn near entire life story. And I hate that. Because in fact, I rank Wizard and Glass among the top 5 worst Stephen King books for that reason, because he killed the mystery for me.
Yeah.
I no longer felt like this was, not a nameless or faceless stranger, but this stranger was now too human for me. I know that sounds bad, but it was. He was like a superhero up until that point. Sure. And then we find out that the only reason he's like this is because his girl got killed or
burned at the stake, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
But it's been a while.
Yeah, no, it's 100% that. But then he ends the book. Spoilers, by the way, guys. If you didn't know, we're doing spoilers.
Spoilers, here we go.
If you're a fan of the channel, I do spoilers anyway. So, anyways, and then we end up at the fucking Emerald City from the Wizard of Oz, and we have to wait for more until 2003 when he decides to restart it, because he almost died in a fucking in an accident. You know all about the accident.
Oh yeah.
I've watched your videos. I'm a fan, if I haven't already said that. Anyway,
you have. Thank you.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that really bothers me about the Wizard and Glass, is that not only did we have to wait so long, but it didn't go anywhere. It ruined a character. It didn't ruin. I was back on board for Wolves of the Kala, because that's what I wanted. I wanted to see them adventuring and doing shit.
Yes.
Instead of losing Eddie, Susanna, and Jake, and Oi, to go back to this place that I could Rio the Coos. Who gives a fuck about Rio the Coos? who gives a fuck about Shimi? Who gives a fuck about this?
Yeah,
there are plenty of people who do. Don't get me wrong.
I get it.
But that's my beef. Is it a good book? Probably. Stephen King, in my opinion, has only really written 2 bad books that I feel he should apologize publicly for.
Oh man,
But
I wanna
uh,
know, but let's save it for another
yeah, yeah,
conversation.
yeah. Everybody in chat knows what they are. But anyways, so yeah, what is your opinion of the Dark Tower series, and what's your favorite book in that one, if you can name one?
Yeah, sure. So as far as the Dark Tower goes, I have listened to it in its entirety twice, or read it once in its entirety,
Mhm.
listened to it once in its entirety, and then when I tried to go back, and this is during COVID as well, because I was like, well, never a better time to listen to the Dark
Right.
Tower series.
I got
Uh,
shit else to do.
I got to Wolves of the Kala, and I tapped out. It was like right at the end of Wizard and Glass. I was like, I got to take a break. I got
Yeah.
to take a break from this. So I have always been a horror thriller fan, but I've never been a fantasy fan. So,
Okay.
like, getting through Wizard and Glass was genuinely a struggle for
Yeah.
me. And it is every time. So
It's
by
a
the time I get to Wolves of the Kala, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm just gonna go read it again. Or Christine. I'm a huge Christine fan. I love that freaking book. But
good story.
I wonder how many of my favorite books are the 2 that you hate.
I don't think I don't think you've even mentioned them, and I don't believe you've gotten. I know you haven't gotten them into in your
Oh,
series.
okay, okay, great,
They
great.
they are relatively new,
Okay.
and like I said, we'll save it. But like I said, also everybody in chat knows, unless some of your fans are here that have never heard of me. Everybody knows, yeah, on my channel, because I'm always complaining about them.
God, I'm so
Um,
curious, but I also wanna save it.
yeah, we'll save it. I'm gonna respect your wishes. I'm sorry. Did you say a favorite in the Dark Tower yet?
I don't believe I did.
Yeah, go ahead.
At one point, it was Wolves of the Kala,
It's a good book.
but I don't know, it might be The Wastelands because it is just unadulterated, batshit crazy, every genre under the sun,
Exactly.
and you know what? That for me works a whole lot more than straight up fantasy realm kind of shit. So, yeah, I guess probably The Wastelands, but I will say this, I don't I have decided to refrain from forming full opinions on the things I haven't covered for the channel yet.
Yeah,
So
I got you.
anything after Needful Things, I don't feel like I've put in enough thought and effort into fully understanding what my feelings about it are.
I got
So,
you.
yeah, yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
fair enough. Also, once again, this is getting it's not getting creepier, but I'm not a fantasy fan either. I hate fantasy. I will watch the movies. I will Well, yeah, sci-fi and fantasy, I don't care to read. There's only two fantasy series. I've even went back and tried to read Lord of the Rings that I loved from my childhood. I couldn't get past the opening of the Two Towers. It bores me to tears. Everybody's doing the same fucking thing over and over and over again. We talked about this a little bit beforehand, with post-apocalyptic fiction, and why I don't read it. But with fantasy, there's only two fantasy. Well, they're both series, but anyways, that's Ken Liu's The Dandelion Dynasty. It's a retelling of Chinese mythology and history mashed all together. It's amazing, amazing. It's nothing like anything else I've ever read, and I've tried all the big names: Robert Jordan, Brandon Sanderson, uh, Abercrombie and Fitch, or whatever the fuck his name is. You know, all those guys. I've tried all of them. And then we have Marlon James. I think it's called the Dark Star trilogy. There's only two books out so far, but it's Black Leopard, Red Wolf, and Moon Witch, Spider King. Both fantastic. Amazing series. So I'm just going to throw that out there as a recommendation, since you don't like fantasy. If you ever want to try those two, and we can talk about it more later or whatever, if you need
Yeah.
me to email you those again. But anywho, so we're on the same page with the Dark Tower. With both of us enjoy the Wastelands the most. I do have one question, and I know you don't want to form an opinion, but it's literally almost a yes or no. Were you happy with how, and I'm going to tell you how I feel beforehand, so you don't feel, that you're put on the spot. Do you feel like the ending was a good ending? And I say it is, because the entire time he has set us up for that, all the way since the Gunslinger. Since the end of the very first book, he told us that that's how it was going to go. Does that upset you? Yes, or did you like it? Do you have any opinions you do want to share about it?
I was not like offended or upset about the ending, in all honesty. For me, I had a like, oh, hey, I don't think he completely fucked up this ending. And
That's
I'm
good.
not of a mind that he does that more often than not necessarily, but when you've invested that much time, like
Oh, I am.
I can see how some people might have been disappointed, but I do think, like you said, like you must not have seen it coming,
Yeah.
but like how?
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, I did enjoy the ending. I thought, you know what? There are worse ways he could have wrapped this sucker up after all
Yeah.
this time. And the other question, that I'd have for those people that didn't like it, what would your idea have been?
Right.
What
Yeah.
would you have done?
That's how I feel on it. Also, that's my question. Is like, how would you have wrapped up this series of 7, 8, if you want to if you want to include when I love Went Through the Keyhole. Don't get me wrong,
I
but
like that one.
there's 8 books in the story, and then when you have Little Sisters of Eluria, so you can say 8.5 or whatever.
Sure.
But yeah, how else? Like I said, and you said he was setting us up the entire time, and as a constant reader, we should know the ending. It's about, what is it? It's about the journey, not the destination.
Right.
So, and for people to dismiss 8.5, I'm just going to go ahead and say 8.5 books or 8.25 books, to them to dismiss all of it. I mean, we're not talking about the ending of the Game of Thrones TV show. We're talking about, the tones, this complete and finished story, you know,
Right. Right.
and that it at the best possible example of him proving that the journey can be better than the destination is that series, in my opinion.
That's
Because,
true.
yeah, I mean, we get the Crimson King at the end. It may not be what everybody wanted. It may not be the battle that everybody thought was coming. The only thing that he didn't follow through with, that bothered me, was the battle for Eld, or the that epic battle that, I think they did it in the graphic novel, but the one that you constantly hear about over and over and over again, the death of Elaine and
Yes.
all that stuff.
Yeah.
We've heard so much about it. I am shocked that he did not put that in. That's literally my only disappointment, other than Wizard and Glass. I don't like Song of Susanna either, but
Mm.
it at least fits down here,
Right. Right.
where it's not a speed bump, and we only had to wait 6 months for it after Wolves, and then another 6 for it to end. That was fantastic. I'm of the firm belief that that Song of Susanna should have been at the end of Wolves or at the beginning of the Dark Tower. It should have been part of that, instead of that. So awkward. The opening's awkward. The ending's awkward. The middle is awkward, because as much as I love Stephen King, the metafiction is a little much for me in that one.
Yeah, I
So
can relate.
yeah, okay. I was just about to ask you what you felt about him placing himself in the story.
Oof.
If you, yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. The first time I read it, I remember just being like, whoa, this is crazy. But I was also smoking a lot of weed at the time.
Oh,
So, that might have had an effect.
we
But
have even more in common. But I'm gummies, but yeah, I can't handle the smoky smoke. But yeah,
I
anyways.
had to give it up completely because I was like
Really?
losing my mind every time. My heart would pound out of my chest and I'd get paranoid and freaked out. I've
Uh,
ruined so many date nights now that I just
oh,
gave it up completely. Like, all right, honey, the kids are gone. Let's get crazy. And then, oh my God, I can't even sit here and watch this stand-up special without like my heart jumping out of my freaking chest. So yeah,
yeah.
I just don't bother
That's a
anymore.
those are a wonderful fucking feeling, aren't they? Because what we have down here, I'm not from Alabama. I'm from California, but
Yeah.
I'm ended up here in Alabama, and of course, we don't even have medical yet. It's been voted into practice, and even when it does come sometime in the next year or two, it's only going to be one flavor gummy, no flour, nothing else. And do you mind saying? Do you mind me saying where you're located?
Not
Okay,
at all.
so you're in New York.
Yep.
I don't know if it's city or if it's the surrounding area. Of course, when you say New York, everybody's first thought is New York City. Is it city?
Upstate.
Upstate. Okay. My mom's from upstate New York.
Gotcha.
But anyways, I digress. But yeah, so all we have around here is the Delta 8, Delta 10, THCO, THC. I say all we have. We have HHC. We have all these different. We have everything because of the Farm Bill, because it's derived from hemp, which they can grow legally here. We have all this wonderful shit, but the Delta 8 especially gives me panic attacks like no one's business. And I'll just be sitting there and it's like, this is it. This is how I fucking die. Sitting here eating fucking Cheetos.
Yeah, that's every
Jericho
experience.
Hill. Thank you, Brad. Sorry. Jericho Hill, Brad. That's the Battle of Jericho Hill. That's
Brad.
what it is.
Thank you, Brad.
Yeah. But yeah, those panic attacks, especially on weed, are so goddamn intense. You can be breathing fine and thinking that you're not breathing. It's wild.
That was my major issue. Is I would be sitting there like, oh man, I think I'm freaking out. I feel weird. I feel kind of sick. I feel kind of dizzy. And then be like, oh my God, you're not breathing right now, you idiot. Frickin' breathe. You know?
Forgetting to breathe is a big one. It is.
Yeah.
And I was like, how do you forget to breathe? It's a bodily function.
Right. I shouldn't have to remind myself to do that. But yeah, that was when I was like, all right, you know what? I'm good. Yeah, the sad part is a dispensary is about to open up right up the street from my job. Damn. And I'm just like, I mean, I know it's going to happen. I'm going to go in there and be like, hey, guy, I need something that's going to be mellow and not make me flip my frickin' shit. And it's probably going to happen anyway, but I know I'm going to try. I have to at least try.
Yeah.
This has been a long time since I enjoyed any of that.
That's a shame. Like I was telling you before we went live, I've had the 5 back surgeries, and
yeah.
I don't care for. I also have a history of heroin addiction, so I don't do opiates. 97 to 01, I was a complete junkie, homeless, all different kinds of shit. So I've come a long way. But I met my wife in 2001, and I was like, I had a choice to make, and she didn't know about it at the time. But I had a choice to make, her or this shit. And I just like, okay, you're going to have to give me like 2 weeks is what I told her. 2 weeks. I'm not going to be able to talk to you. I'm not going to be able to do it. And I'll explain when I come out of this. I was afraid that if I told her I wanted to prove beforehand, that I could kick it and then tell her what I did, instead of, her, because her father was an alcoholic, and it ended up killing him. So I was worried about, her thinking that she's just going from one addict to another, that kind of thing.
Sure.
It all worked out, but she saved my life just by fucking existing. So that's my love story for you. Before we go to comments, and I got other things I want to talk about, but I want to one more thing, and it's one of the questions that I sent you earlier. Who are some of your favorite authors that aren't Stephen King? You've already said that you like thrillers and horror is your main consumption. So who do you like in those genres?
All right. I've been excited about this one, but also dreading it because I'm going to talk about what might be my absolute favorite book of all time, and it's a post-apocalyptic horror.
Hey, that's fine. Hit me with it.
Okay, so we'll end with that, but Nick Cutter is a big one. I'm not sure exactly when his first book came out, but he recently published, it was a couple of years ago, The Troop came out, and it had, Stephen King's endorsement on the front, and I went, ooh, let's see what this is. And it was just the most gross out body horror meets Lord of the Flies.
Yeah, those
Really good
parasites or
time.
whatever the fuck they were. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've read all of his stuff except for Little Heaven. So
I read all of them as well. Really enjoyed Nick Cutter's stuff. And then there's Clay McLeod Chapman. Um,
yes, familiar.
Yeah, he wrote the remaking, Whisper Down the Lane, and most recently Ghost Eaters. He's also worked on a ton of Marvel comics.
Yep.
He writes for them as well. He actually worked on that Wendell and Wild
Yep.
show on
I was going to bring that
Netflix.
up. Yeah, the Jordan Peele one. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I actually had the good fortune of meeting
Cool.
Clay in person years ago before his career really took off. He was doing this show called The Pumpkin Pie Show where he would like come and read got like spooky stories and stuff like that. It was a good
Cool.
time. And then of course the last one is Robert McCammon.
Mm.
And his novel Swan Song will always kind of be one of my all-time favorites. If not my favorite, I have a hard time committing to that as obviously feels like a betrayal of King. Um,
that was gonna be the next question is The Stand or Swan Song. I'm
ugh,
guessing
ugh,
you don't know. Oh,
I don't.
I see the uncomfort just flowing from your the cringe.
I
It's yeah.
I I really love Swan Song. I'm not gonna lie. It might be the one I prefer, but I don't know. I tell you what, I'll have to someday make a video about Swan Song because I need to really dig
Yeah,
into
you
it
do.
before I can say with any certainty. Um, but even so, like my video about The Stand was before I was like really like deep diving into my subconscious to try to pull out the deeper meaning. And like all my earlier videos, I'm doing the whole like, here's what the story was about, here's the characters, this was cool, I didn't like this so much, final thoughts.
Yeah.
And so now I've been thinking about just going back and digging a little further in. But the other Robert McCammon book that I particularly enjoyed was They Thirst, which was his vampire book.
His Salem's Lot. Yeah.
Yeah,
The tornadoes were a bit much for me, but it's a good book. I enjoyed it. It was fun, and of course, original Dracula could fuck with the weather. So I'm gonna let him pass. But that was a little much with the vampire controlled tornadoes. I was like, I'm here for it, but chill the fuck out, bro. My favorite McCammon is Gone South, and then Boy's Life right after that. I'm a huge fan of not Boy's Life, but Gone South, just because of its themes.
yeah,
I think it's the closest he's ever come to his aim to write, and I hate saying it this way, but write a Stephen King novel, because he's kind of been chasing dude his entire career,
true.
and he's just as good.
Yeah,
He's on par with King, and I still think back. I still think to this day, had King McCammon was a better fit than Straub. I love Straub. Don't get me wrong.
sure,
Ghost Story, a fucking classic.
absolutely.
But I think if we had gotten a McCammon King collaboration, that would have been fucking amazing. And
I agree.
I like to speculate about things like that. And I'm Stephen King theorist over here, but but McCammon, man, I love McCammon. The only thing I don't like about Swan Song is the opening line. I think it's one of the worst ever. It just kind of it does not drag me in. In fact, I did a video ages ago about top 5. I was talking about top 5 fighting. I made a list of everything.
Yeah.
Top 5 worst openings to a book. I also did best openings, but that one was number 2. So, but other than that, I think
I admittedly can't remember what the opening line is.
It's hard to read out loud, and I'm an author, and how I edit is I read my stuff out loud to make sure that it flows, because if I'm going to stumble on it, someone who doesn't know the story is definitely going to stumble on it. And it is one of the most awkward sentences to say out loud, at least for me. And it's something like, we had a love affair with fire, the president thought, as he sat there and lighting his cigar with a match and tossing the match. It is almost a run-on, but there is a comma in there. Like he threw a life preserver out there, just that one comma. But other than that, the book's fine. But I do have a question for you, and I don't. Do you have a favorite opening or ending line? And the reason why I'm literally like I want to know how similar we actually are. Do you have a perfect King opening line or a perfect ending line that you read and it stuck with you forever?
Oh man, it's so cliche to just think of the gunslinger
Gunslinger, yeah, the man.
immediately,
Yep,
but
everybody.
that is the first one that comes to mind. But I think predominantly because I'm having a hard time thinking of any others
Hey,
right now.
that's fine. That's fine. Mine personally, my favorite. I think it's the best because of the themes and because of what the book is about and everything. I think the best closing line ever written, and this is period, is the very last line of Pet Cemetery. Darling, it said. It tells you everything you need to know in that one little bit. You have the term of endearment. The book's all about love and loss and family and all that. It tells you that, and then it tells you it said. It tells you that the person saying that is no longer the person they were. I think it is absolutely perfect. And as far as opening lines, I don't even have one. Like the only thing that I could probably think of would be the gunslinger also.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I sometimes I will literally just open up Pet Cemetery and read that final line. And it gives me goosebumps every single time. And it's also one of the main reasons why I despised. Well, there's many reasons. Despised the most recent remake, which
Mhm.
my friend Jake told me they've already filmed and they're going to release a prequel to that one.
Yeah.
Um, and it blows my mind because that one was just so utterly awful. I don't know how you feel about it. If you want to talk about that, that's fine. But it exists. It's not something I enjoy.
I after making a handful of very like angry guy yells at camera videos about a few Stephen King movies, I decided, you know what? I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to
Mm,
just be mad and say terrible, horrible, mean things about a movie I don't like. So after it was the Creep Shows. It was Creep Show 2 and 3. I got very upset over and hated both so very, very much.
There's a question over in chat about Creepshow 3 that we're going to get to in a second, but
Oh
I noticed
no.
that it was like within the first 10 minutes of us being live. But
Oh
we're going to
no.
get to that in a second. But anyway, so okay, no comment. Is that what you're getting at?
I I I I actually did enjoy parts of it. I the first time I saw it, I deeply disliked it.
Yeah.
And then the second time I watched it, I was like, all right, be less hypercritical about what it's not doing for you and try to find something that it is. And so if you watch my video for it, I
Appreciate that.
essentially said, you know what, this movie just attempted to take the themes of the original story and of the original film and kind of twist them a little bit, and instead of making it about this thing, they tried to make it about this thing, and then explore that instead of being like, they didn't kill the 2-year-old, and I don't like it. You
When you put it that way,
boo.
when you put it that way,
Yeah, no,
God
they
damn it.
they they re-examined the way that
Yeah.
the original movie and novel addressed the themes of death, and in the novel, it's them arguing, the parents, about how they're going to talk to their child about death,
Yeah.
and they never talk about the ideology, they never talk about God and the afterlife. And then in this new movie, that was what started to become the rift. It was the wife had to believe in heaven because she killed her sister on accident and wanted to believe her sister was in a better place. Whereas the husband was a doctor and this man of science. He didn't believe in that kind of shit. So they were trying to determine, how do we talk to our children about death through the lens of religion and God? And so there was this kind of moment for me when I was watching it. I was like, aha, this is what I can talk about in this video without just being like, I didn't like this movie. Nah. You know,
I feel bad now because I was one of those they mad that they didn't kill the 2-year-old. And when you put it like that, fuck you.
well, think of it this way too. What's more threatening? A dead zombie 2-year-old or a dead zombie 9-year-old?
I don't want to deal with either, but
Fair.
I get where you're coming from. I get where you're coming from.
Let me tell you.
But I
When my
also
daughter
have
was, oh, sorry, go ahead. Go
no,
ahead.
no, no. You're Well, all I'm going to say is I'm terrified, and my one true phobia is dolls. Well, spiders also, but the dolls are part of the spider thing. I was locked in a closet when I was a kid, and it was a spider-infested doll cabinet.
Oh, sweet Jesus.
Yeah, so there was literally like a horror movie. They were like crawling out of the mouths and the eyes and whatnot. So it's a legitimate trauma response when I look at Gage in the original movie, because he looks like a fucking doll, and one of the dolls in there had on a fucking top hat. So yeah, the first movie I think is absolutely perfect. I don't care about the bad acting. I don't give a shit. I don't care. That movie is perfect. So I also have. It's also the very first Stephen King movie I had experience with. We went to a drive-in, and my dad, being jackass he was, he wouldn't watch me. So I had to go with my mother and her friend Andrita to go to a drive-in to watch Pet Sematary. I had to pee. I was sitting with my back to the driver's seat because I wasn't supposed to watch it. I was supposed to be asleep, but I was in the the footwell, with my back up against that, and I turn around to tell my mother I have to go to the bathroom, and at that exact fucking moment, Zelda come running at the screen.
Oh, sweet Jesus!
At that,
Christ.
I was 9,
Oh, no,
9 years old.
dude.
I screamed, pissed all over myself. So I have an, even though that might sound traumatizing, I have an affinity for that original movie. Like
Sure.
that movie in my mind is perfect because it truly captured the horror and everything. So I went into the remake completely biased. I wanted the same movie. I wanted the same story. And yes, I knew they weren't going to be killing Gage because they put it in the fucking trailer. Like,
Yeah.
what the hell are you? Anyways.
Yeah, that was.
I digress.
I hate it when movie trailers are like, "Here's the whole movie in 2 minutes or
So
less."
weird, man.
Why would you do
weird.
that?
And it's just getting worse. It's getting
Yeah.
worse and worse. Anyway, so
Agreed.
if you're cool, I want to open up chat to questions, and I want to go all the way back up here to questions that we got from the jump. Brad Perkins says, Mr. Doyle, did Creepshow 3 make you wish you picked up another author to be a completionist of?
You know, I mean, the sad part is he had nothing to do with Creepshow 3.
No.
I could have just skipped it
Nothing.
entirely and no one would have given me any problems over it. Yes, it's entirely me. You're absolutely right. I should have picked somebody else. I don't know, like someone who only published a couple of books perhaps. And
Dude, you did an entire video on the Riverdale episode of the Carrie musical. Well, fuck. I'm sitting there going, this guy makes me look fucking lazy. How the hell did you? I didn't even know that thing existed until you.
I'm
And
sorry.
now I have to go watch it.
I'm sorry that you have to know about it. Honestly, the only reason I found out about it is because I was like, yes, I'll do everything that has to do with Carrie. That can't be that many. Seven videos in the
Yep.
Carrie series.
Oh, I watched all of them too. I
Yeah,
watched all of them too.
yeah.
That
The
was
Riverdale one was enjoyable to make, but that was like I was definitely on my like, oh, this is the first one where I get to just outright shit all over what I'm talking about.
it's funny because I built up an entire following based on rage reviews. That was something that I started even before I had the channel. I was over on Goodreads. Before I deleted my Goodreads, I had 15,000 followers.
Oh my God.
And people were there for me to rage out. They wanted me to hate read things. And I got to preface this. I never went into a book expecting to hate it. Not once. But did I use those rage reviews to build my career? I sure as shit did. And it was something people like. I did a review for Alan Moore's Jerusalem, which is a bloated mess of a book. It has a really good 300-page novel right in the middle of it. Otherwise, it's 600,000 words and 1,200 pages long. And I did a review of that one, and I just went all in. It was mostly cussing. I'm going to be completely honest with you. Every other word was something foul. As you can tell, just talking to me, I like the F word.
Oh.
So there was a lot of that. That single review got 10,000 likes. My like got more. My like had a bigger number than the number of reviews for the book. The book like topped out at like 8. I don't know what it's at now, but before
Yeah.
I deleted my Goodreads, it was like 8,000 reviews. I got 10,000 more people clicked like on that review. But anyway, so yeah, that was my whole shtick for a long time. Recently, I would say probably last year around January or February, I was doing this thing where I was instead of doing individual reviews, I was crunching everything together that I read in that month because I didn't have time to film. I was working on big projects, so on and so forth. And I realized as I was going through this, I would usually finish a bad book. I would finish everything that I started because I knew I could make content off of that experience. But then I also realized that I had amassed a legion of followers that were only there for my rage, that were only there to see me upset and only there to see me unhappy because they got joy from me disliking things.
Yep.
And I knew that had to change.
Yeah.
So when you were speaking to I don't want to be that guy,
Yeah.
it resonated with me for that reason because I don't want to be that guy anymore. Now, if
Yeah.
I'm not liking a book within like the first, I have a 15 and 50 rule. I watch a movie for 15 minutes. If you don't grab me, I'm out of there. 50 pages for a book. You get at least 50 pages because sometimes, some of my favorite books don't even get going until page 100. So I figure 50 is a good, median there. Anyways, but yeah, I didn't like myself. I didn't like what I was doing, what I was putting out into the world, even though I had amassed all these fans who loved that content. I didn't like it. I didn't like what I was doing. I didn't like that. I didn't even like the fact that I got on and just rambled for 10, 15 minutes at a time. And now all my videos are highly edited, highly. There's jump cuts like every couple words sometimes because I'm cutting out all the uhs and ums and just me rambling on about what I like and what I don't like, kind of thing that has nothing pertaining to the book itself. Anyways, but like I told you before, I'm also ADHD and touch of the tism, so my brain goes to wild places. That's funny about Creepshow 3. I have not watched that video yet.
Okay, well, so, I don't know. I cringe a little bit. I cringe a little bit if I go back to like watch any of those particular Creepshow 2 and 3 videos in particular. I don't ever want to watch again at this point because I'm just mad the whole time and I'm just shitting on it the whole time. But I'm glad I did those though because I was like I didn't really enjoy that. So now I'm not going to keep doing that. Unless I'm forced to, which is entirely possible. It could happen again. If I'm forced, I'm forcing myself to do it. No one's holding a gun to my head like, watch this shitty movie or you're going to pay a price for it.
See, but that's one of the things I was talking about earlier is like, when you start doing channels like we have, people have certain expectations.
Right.
And they either respect our opinion or they want new information or whatever it might be. And that can get under your skin very quickly. It's like sometimes I'm not allowed to like or dislike something because I have to worry about what comments are going to, and I try to interact with all your fans too. That's another thing I respect about you is that you're always in the comment section, talking to people. And I'm sure you've gotten at least one hate comment in 2 fucking years. I'm sure. Yeah. I'm positive. And in fact, this is the first thing I was thinking when you got to in the It video, when you got to the radical leftist part, I'm like, ooh, this comment section is going to be fucking toasty. And I was surprised to see. I don't know how much you had deleted or if you even delete, but I was surprised to see it was good.
I'm in allow all comments channel and I don't delete them. I've been in a few fights with people about rage in particular in the comments section. Fight is too strong a word, of course, but I named my rage video Richard Bachman's Rage is a Dangerous Book. And there were people who in the comments section were like, a book can't be dangerous. A book doesn't kill people. And I'm like, I know the book didn't fucking murder people, you jackasses. I know the book didn't do it. But when there's something like a dozen instances of people having your book in their possession and then literally murdering people, there's nothing wrong with King choosing to take the book off
Oh,
the shelf. He
I
wasn't
respect his choice.
censored. Yeah,
Yeah.
no. They were like, "Oh, that's censorship." I don't. It wasn't censorship.
It was literally found in a locker at the
Yeah.
school where the shooting happened.
Yes.
And I erroneously said way back in the day, I thought it was Columbine.
Oh.
But a friend of mine updated me, not updated, but he informed me that it wasn't Columbine. It was a completely different one. But at this point in time, it's getting so out of control. There's like, what's the new flavor of
Who
the
can
week?
keep track?
Not even week, the day. I mean,
Yeah.
we've had more mass shootings in this country. I don't want to get off on a tangent. More mass shootings in this country than we've had days this year. Just this year.
Tangent.
No, we're not doing tangents. Let's go to chat.
Okay.
We can definitely do a topic like that though.
Well, I mean, my second obsession is politics. So I am covertly using my Stephen King channel to bring politics into the conversation. That's right. Yeah.
Hang on.
Don't worry. I'm just a harmless little booktuber. Nothing to worry about. And then bam, Marxism.
When you do hit, I'm always just over there with a little fucking smirk on my face because we share damn near all the goddamn we got so much in common. I'm over here scrolling through. I'm still listening, I promise, but I'm looking for questions.
I was just gonna say for those who are here who didn't get to hear that half hour of us chatting, it turns out the two of us have a lot in common, like scary amounts, like really bizarre coincidental things.
Just off the rip, we're both I'm 42, he's 41. We both are married with 2 kids. We both are musicians. We both. I didn't want to interrupt you and cut you off, but of course, I was not reading books during my heroin stint. I'm sure you realize that.
Yeah.
So I kind of fell out of love with reading around 96, 97, and I didn't really get that. I was writing and selling books before I got back into reading more than 2 or 3 books a year. It wasn't until probably 2010, 2011, when I really got deep into internet culture, that I started finding my people again. I found Goodreads, all this other stuff. I published. I just started I'm not supposed to talk. Since I want to leave this video up, I can't talk about the other name. But we already talked about the other name.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was starting to take off. I published the first book under that name, so on and so forth. And so it was a good from 97 to 2011. I might have read 2 or 3 books a year. And usually they were Stephen King books. So that's another reason why I asked, is it just King for you? Because that's some people, it's just King. Like they won't read. And me being, and you being a King centric channel, I don't know if you come across these people or not, but they're literally comments that say, I don't read anyone else but King. And that's the only author I can think of that I've ever heard that about. Like, there are not people out there only reading Jackie Collins. There's not people out there only reading James Patterson or the Da Vinci Code guy, Dan Brown. It's only King has that. And like you were saying, he's fucking addictive. Once you get into one, you either want to reread it right away or you want to move on to something new. And I find that just absolutely amazing. Brad, can I spill the beans, E? What do you mean? I don't know what you mean. I'm looking for other questions. I don't know what beans. It was a while ago. What time is it? It's 9:38 and it was at 9:02. What beans are you spilling?
Brad, where the beans at, Brad?
There is no ending of it. Hang on. Yeah, the Christopher Bilko, and this is just a comment, just to say, there is no ending of any series that is perfect, but that can be said about literally any form of media. There's no perfect movie. Some of us think there are perfect movies. Mine is Howard the Duck. I'm of course wrong, but I stand by that.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I'm not even kidding, dude. It's my favorite movie of all time. I've watched it hundreds of times.
Oh my God.
Yeah, there is no ending of any series that is perfect and is perfect for everyone.
True.
So good and fulfilling is the best any writer would want at most likely. This is very, very true. And then my friend Tony, who's a Maki Clan 7798, says hello, Mr. Doyle. Glad to see you here, man. I love your channel. I'm a huge fan of yours. He's
Oh my
talking to
gosh.
you because Tony doesn't like me at all. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Well, I greatly appreciate that. I've seen quite the uptick in subs and views here in this last couple of weeks, and I'm not exactly sure why that is. I think my newest
People are
thumbnail for
talking.
Needful Things thumbnail was pretty on point. I was really
It
happy
was.
with that one. But yeah, thank you, Uzumaki. It's been really exciting to start to see some growth because I have felt more discouraged than encouraged a lot of the time until I see somebody say something like that, and then I'm just like, oh, okay, great. I'm not doing it just for
It's
myself.
amazing how that one positive comment can change your whole fucking day. And
Absolutely.
I think that's the reason why I'm still doing it, just to have someone, I get it. I hate saying shit like this because it feels like bragging, but you'll get someone who you rekindled my love for reading. That'll make my fucking month, man. If someone
Absolutely.
say that I have brought someone back into the fold, or that I have created a love of reading, or that they want to go back and read it so they can read deeper to catch all these connections and everything.
Hell
I
yeah,
love that,
man.
man.
That's what it's all about.
Brad says, I'm from Rochester. Is that how you say Rochester?
Rochester.
Rochester. Sorry, I knew I was
Rochester.
going to get it wrong. With anything with Chester in it is never pronounced the same way ever. It's like Worcestershire or whatever the
We've
hell it
got
is.
Worcester up here where I'm from.
There you go.
Worcester. It looks like Worcester, but that's not what it is. Brad, we're about 3 hours away from each other, as a matter of fact. I was last in Rochester to see the band Queens of the Stone Age at the Dome.
I
That
like
was a
them.
great show. That was God, that was like 5 years ago now, I think. But yeah, I don't divulge a lot about where I live
You're
on the
fine. You don't have to.
internet.
I'm just gonna throw that out there. You don't have to say
Yeah, no,
anything
I
about
won't. I'm not gonna. I've always been weirded out. That's why I strictly use my last name. I just try to keep some anonymity.
it.
Weirds me out having everybody know where I live. Although
Mr.
I have 100% doxed myself on a handful of
Oh
occasions, like
shit.
without realizing it.
I used to do a thing called not a thing called I used to do unboxing videos, and somehow out of like 30-40 videos, I never once accidentally showed my address. But I did get doxxed at one point in time, and we ended up having to move. I got feces in the mail for my review of Bird Box,
Oh
of
my
all
God.
things. Yeah,
Was it
someone.
in a box?
It was literally in a box, and on top of the fecal matter was a card that was written very prettily that said, "This is what I think of your Bird Box review," and it was human feces. I
Wow.
know it was human feces because it was the police were called. The police
Oh
came
my
out.
God.
Laboratories did the testy test.
Oh
And the
no.
person was eventually arrested because the dumbass dropped it off at the post office. So there was video of them dropping it off at the post
Oh.
office. So yeah,
Oh
they were in,
no.
they sat in jail for like 3 years. It was lovely. But anyways,
Can I tell my poop in the box story?
yeah, definitely,
Okay.
please. I love
All
poop in the
right.
box.
Okay. All right. I'll try to keep it quick. I'll try to keep it
No,
quick.
you're fine.
Okay.
I'm doing good. So you're fine.
I actually told my parents this story for the first time a couple weekends ago. So I feel free to say it on the internet now.
Let's go.
Okay. So growing up in a small house with a single bathroom, sometimes you have an emergency situation and you cannot wait for the
Yeah.
bathroom to become
Oh
available.
God.
So I came home from school with my sister one day. She had to use a bathroom. I urgently needed to use the bathroom. She got there first. So what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? I ran down into the basement. I found a box. I took care of my business, and then I ran it out to a cornfield, which is what we were surrounded by where I grew up, and I left it in the middle of this field. The next day, my friend comes by. We're walking up the street, and from like a mile away, he's like, "Hey, what is that over there in the field?" And I'm like, "I I don't
Sorry.
know. I don't know. We should go and see what it is." So we go over, and he opens it. He's like, "Oh my God, it's shit!" And I just had to be like, "Ah, that was mine. I'm so sorry."
You literally played out the ending of 7 with fucking shit.
What's in the box?
What's in the box? Now, I have this is getting creepier and creepier, dude. I have a story. It's going to be super quick, but it's damn near the same story, but it was me and my wife. My oldest was about 6 months old, and we both had bad Taco Bell the night before. We both get up at the same time the next morning. We both run to the bathroom, and me being the gentleman that I am, I was like, baby, just go, just hurry the fuck up and go, just go. So she's in there, and she literally hollers, it won't stop. And I'm like, and here I am, I'm like, it's over, it's done with. So I dash into the kitchen, rip the lid off the trash can, and I shit in my own trash can. And it was sitting there because the trash can was fucking full, dude. With just on top of all the wrappers and everything from Taco Bell, I literally recycled that shit. Literally sitting right on top of the. It's so fucking weird, man. We got way too much in common. Boggle Clean said, "Now we're going to move on from that."
Yeah, moving on.
That's a whole clip in itself. That 100%. Yeah, that's going up there. Anyways, oh my God, I love Swan Song and Boy's Life. I need to read those again. It's been forever. Boy's Life. That's a very special book. I prefer Gone South. That's just my own personal thing. But Boy's Life, that shit is magical. That is exactly what Stephen King was talking about when he said books are a uniquely portable type of magic.
That's not a uniquely portable magic. I'm pretty sure that was the quote.
Yeah, exactly. I always want to put in typo, but that book is exactly what he was talking about. That's one of those books that take you back to your childhood. It's one of those books that just make you relive everything good about being a kid before you realize the world wants you dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, McCammon. Sean says McCammon King collab would be sick. We need to petition them. I doubt it will ever happen, but
I mean, I assume McCammon's still alive.
Oh yeah, he's in fact, he was just in Birmingham last year, I think. Well, he could have died since then, but I'm sure he's alive. I know he's alive because he's got a new book coming out and all that. He's doing that Matthew something series. Okay. I don't know what it is. Revival had a great first line. In one way, at least, our lives really are like movies. I was about to pull it out, but that's it. I know that. That is a good line.
Yeah, it is.
And we got a Pet Sematary one. I'm looking for questions, but I'm also seeing good comments. My biggest complaint with the Pet Sematary remake is how they messed up Judd and Lewis. Yes. Yeah, relationship. Yeah. In the remake, they are almost antagonistic towards each other. Pet Sematary, beside having my favorite final line of all time, that opening line about him finding his father figure is brilliant also, because and you're absolutely right. Not only did John Lithgow not do a great job, in my opinion, but then again, I'm still, I'm for Herman Munster. I got to have Herman Munster.
Fred Gwynn. He was the quintessential Judd. It's hard to see anybody else in the role, honestly.
Exactly. Sometimes dead is better, and I can't do but he nailed that line.
He did.
Closing line, the long walk, and when the hand touched his shoulder again, he somehow found the strength to run. And Patrick, I wanted to. We brought you up beforehand, and we both know you. You're pretty much infamous, by the way, if you don't know, in the Stephen King creator community. And me and Mr. Doyle both appreciate you. It's nice to know that we haven't run you off, or where you have to be like, you're wrong all the time, I hate you. So it's a good litmus test to whether or not a channel is a King channel is decent if we see a good comment like from you underneath it.
Patrick is an excellent barometer.
Oh yes, definitely.
No, for real though, Patrick, you've been like one of my most regular commenters for the longest time in my channel's existence. So I really do appreciate that you've been following along and always have constructive criticisms. If you have criticisms, you've never been cruel or mean about it, and you definitely haven't been wrong. on those occasions. And
I've,
also,
I've never found him wrong either. Like,
no,
and most of the time it's usually me. When I do see a Patrick comment, sometimes I have to cool myself down because I'm mad at myself
like, oh, what
for
did I
fucking up.
do? Oh no.
Yeah, it's not just it's not like an automatic thing, but when he does catch me on stuff, which he has plenty of times, and I'm like, fuck, now I got to either reshoot the video or I got to do another redux or I got to. But I mean, and I have to remind myself at the end of the day that we are going to we're going to have those instances where we fuck something up, and we can choose to get mad at the person who's trying to help us, or we can take that and we can move on. But like you said, it's always constructive criticism. He points it out and he's like, hey, this, that, and the other, and then you go back and you check, and it only takes so many times to check something that he says before you just like automatically you're like, fuck, if he said it, it must be true.
Yo,
So
hold on. Before we
right,
move on from Patrick,
yeah,
that man, I hope you're listening, Patrick, is
I hope so.
incredible. He
Yeah.
bought he may have mentioned this to you. He put all of the texts of
Oh
Stephen
yeah,
King
I
into
have
that
it.
search. Oh, you have that?
I have it. How do you think? Well, okay. Let me. A lot of the stuff that I have for the Redux series came from
Yeah.
Patrick.
No kidding.
Unfortunately, I finished filming the Redux series. The entire thing's been done
Holy crap.
before I got his database to work. But now that I
Oh,
have the database working, I am now going through and I'm going to be doing videos once the Redux is done. I'm going to be doing videos just searching for specific terminologies, like the shop. Which books they pop up in, how many times it pops up in. I can also just go through my videos because he has literally commented on every single one of my videos about how many times certain words pop up. The
yes.
only thing we're going to have problem with is the number 19. You know how important 19 is,
Oh,
but it's
yeah.
not always the number 19. Sometimes it's how many letters are in someone's name. Sometimes it's an address that added up to, or like in later, it's a combination to someone's unlock screen on their phone adds
Right.
up to 19. It's crazy. Um, M Twice says King drops band names on his works all the time. Are there any examples where either of you were surprised by what band King mentioned? I'm going to give you the boring one because no. I know how influential music was to him, and I wouldn't be a bit surprised if he listened to Little Nas X. I honestly, that's honestly, I wouldn't be a bit surprised, because he of course loves classic rock and all that stuff and country music and whatnot, but he also listens to new stuff. You'll see him on Twitter talking about, hey, I found this new band, go check it out. So no, I'm never surprised. How about you, Mr. Doyle?
Uh, I'm trying to think of a time he surprised me when talking about music, but I keep thinking of this article he wrote. It was about like what do you think is the most overrated band and what's the most underrated band? And for the life of me, like I'm trying to remember who he named as the most overrated. I'm pretty sure he said the Beatles
I
because
would
he
I,
was. I
I,
think he was trolling, but I don't know for sure.
I would I would agree with that. Moving on.
Okay, yep, moving on. Next question.
I'm not
He
I'm
said
not getting shot at
Credence.
tonight. I'm not getting shot at tonight. It's not gonna happen. Hey,
Yeah,
E
yeah.
and Mr. Doyle, great combo tonight. What is your favorite King story? For me, so many come to mind, but the Jaunt would be my favorite. Once again I got to give the boring answer because the Jaunt is my favorite as well. It's the implications of the entire story. The story is super short. For King anyways, we're not talking about a 30, 60 page short story like he normally
Right.
does. We're
Yeah.
not talking about rainy season or anything like that. Where it is so perfectly stark and succinct, and it leaves so much unanswered. But
That's
that's
true.
the brilliant part about that story, is that there are no answers. So your mind is going to fill in all of those blanks, and the mind is a scary fucking place. How about you?
I go to probably either man, all right, I'm gonna say one definitively instead of say, well, it's either this or that. I'm gonna go with I Am the Doorway.
Ooh,
Um,
great
I
shit.
I will say this too. The title to that story, I don't know what it is, but just those words in that order, I find fascinating.
That's cool.
I really like it, and then, of course, the themes are, the guy has something inside of him taking control of him, and he can't stop it. Yeah, 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 and you know, I saw that as an analogy while I was reading it of, you know, like addiction and alcoholism and the things inside of you can't control, or perhaps it was like a mental disorder or something like that. I mean, obviously in the story, it's literally like an alien presence inside of this
Fucking
man.
eyes, man. Man, I can't.
So
You know what? Sorry.
no, please go ahead.
Okay, it reminds me of that movie, The Gate. You remember
Yeah.
The Gate? Yeah, when the eye in the hand, and that bothers me because I am not a fan of eye horror. It bothers me like that. What is it, Zombie or Zombie 2, whatever, that famous scene where the
Oh, with this,
yes, exactly.
yeah.
I can't. No, that's too much, my friend. That's too much. This is directly for you, Mr. Doyle. Do you keep all of your outfits from your videos?
Okay, so I currently have a costume rack now.
So do I. But it's
Yeah,
just shirts. Anyways,
it's lab coats, hospital johnnies,
love it. Love it.
various blood spattered dress shirts, and yeah, I own it all now. I mean, I'm trying to only like I finally realized like I need to start buying things that I will actually need again
Yeah.
because it's getting out of control. So like for the It series, I started to just buy t-shirts that had Maine on them. Um, and you know, if I gotta wear a dress shirt, I'll wear one that actually fits me that I can reuse. Obviously, the one for Craig Toomey is covered in blood now, so I
Yeah.
won't be reusing that one. But yeah, I own all of those costumes.
That's very, very cool. It's funny because Patrick even mentioned this. He's like, "Do you plan on wearing a different shirt in every single one of your videos? If so, what are you gonna do with those shirts?" I'm like, I didn't know what else to say to him. I'm like, wear them? I don't know. I have them. They're they're they exist.
Amazing.
Jacob Brandon says, "E, you found your twinner."
That's
Yes.
right.
Oddly, yes. It's very weird. It's nice, but it's also very, very weird how much we have in common. E and Mr. Doyle are my two favorite Stephen King YouTubers. I am deeply honored, especially because you are so picky. And I say that in the best possible way because I know when you say that, it's like a super honest friend who will tell you when you got a booger hanging out your nose or toilet paper hanging out your pants. You are that friend, and
Yes.
I
Yes.
deeply appreciate you. And you're making my job so much fucking easier with this damn database of yours. But yeah, he can search. He can search everything. And it's I couldn't get I use Linux, so I couldn't get it to work on Windows for the longest time. And he kept saying, "I sent you the damn database. Why don't you look?" He didn't say it like that, but
Oh yeah,
he's
yeah.
like, "You can do this in the database. You can search for those things." Because I was literally calling him out in the videos and be like, "Patrick, will you check this for me?" I literally got desperate at one point in time. I discovered E and Mr. Doyle by searching for videos about the long walk. Yes. Let's see here. Here you go. Mr. Doyle's essay on needful things was freaking majestic. I will agree 100%. That and it are probably my favorite out of your catalog so far.
Thank you.
Have you, I got to ask you this question before we continue on with this because we got several other questions. Have you hit burnout yet? Like to a point where 1 week you just don't want to fucking do it?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I
Yeah, yeah.
figured 2
I
years.
mean,
Yeah.
for a while there, you know, I was doing every week, and then it became every other week, and now it's literally like whenever the fuck I get to it. I don't know. Actually, the script for Needful Things, every night I would sit there and I would open the file, and I would look at it, and I would close it and go to sleep. And that happened like every night for a week straight. And then I finally was like, okay, your sub counts are starting to go up a little bit because for some reason
That's
I
when
did.
it happens.
Yeah,
Sorry, that's when it
it
happens.
was like 45 days since I'd released a video, and all of a sudden my subscriber count started going up, and I was like, you should probably make a video because people are actually paying attention here.
Right.
And honestly, it was just like, all right, well, I do all of my scripts on Google Docs from my phone. Like that is how I do them now because it's the most convenient. If inspiration strikes and I'm taking a shit, I can fucking type it in there real quick. You know, I can't do that with my laptop or my notebook or whatever. So everything goes into the docs. But like I would open that doc, and for like a week or two,
This
yeah,
is mine.
there you go.
That's all the stuff I have left to do.
Awesome.
That's all. I'm just saying. I do this. I do the same thing. Please continue on.
Yeah,
Sorry to
no,
interrupt you.
yeah, but burnout or of some sort had set in, but I can't really put it all on the channel. It was just like I got a full-time job. I got a
Yeah.
full-time family. My wife is in the process of opening up a photography studio right now, so I'm spending my free time there helping her get her studio ready for the big opening this coming
Dude,
weekend.
you rock. You
Thank
fucking
you.
rock.
Thank
You
you.
absolutely rock. I love. Get away from me.
Bah,
I
bah.
got like a. I live in Alabama, so these little gnats will come in when I open my office door, and I literally shoot and film and even read out in a shed, in a
Yeah.
controlled shed out in my yard.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but the reason why is so I'm not bothering my wife, who does her own blogging and graphic stuff and video game research and everything when she's inside. I love people who take care of their significant other, and when they're doing well, they don't just forget about that other person. They go and they help, and I respect that so damn much, because you constantly see, especially in men, when we start to see a little bit of success or we get a hobby, that person kind of vanishes off the face of the planet in that person's head. And I can't say that I haven't had thoughts like I got my own shit to do, but she always comes first for me. If she needs something, damn it, it's gonna fucking happen.
Yes, sir.
Because she's been through everything with me. Since we already talked about shit stories, she's literally had to wipe my ass before.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
because my surgeries
You're
affect,
back.
yeah,
Yeah,
affect
yeah.
that. So yeah, she's literally
Oh
had to
my
clean me
god.
up. This is a bout it woman. She
Yeah, I'd
is
say.
she is there for it. Let's see here. I finished my second listen of it. How many times are you planning on reading it, Patrick? I'd love to hear that from you. Uh, if you have, you probably haven't, but Brad's tattoo is amazing. Um, if I can get your permission, Brad, I will forward it, because I still have your email, I believe. I will forward it to Mr. Doyle.
I would
Just
love
give
to
me
see it.
just give me a thumbs up, because it is
Yeah.
fucking amazing. All right, so we got another question for you. Mr. Doyle, I'm curious what your thoughts are on the theme of consumption throughout King's work. This is for a whole other video. But yeah, if you aren't familiar, maybe you can sum up what I'm talking about. We have kind of narrowed down Stephen King's entire career, not only to imagination and the power of imagination, but that's on my end. I haven't talked to Jake about this, but how consumption plays a unique special role in the Stephen King universe, as far as even in movies, even in books like Christine, how it kind of eats Arnie alive, kind of it kind of sucks the life out of him, to the True Knot, to the Vampires in Salem's Lot, to all of the spoilers to the Outsider, Pennywise, the Greys, all of those. All these monsters are about consumption. Even to some extent, Annie Wilkes is about consumption. She wants another book from Paul Sheldon. It's all about bleeding you dry. They come. It's a revolving theme with King's work, that the protagonist is being consumed by something. Even so much as with Pet Cemetery, you're being consumed by grief, whether that the consumption is a monster or whether it's an emotion. Even consumption when it comes down to alcoholism,
Yeah.
The Shining, all
Yeah.
of, and Doctor Sleep and all that. So I'm sure we can sit here and talk for a while on that, but if you want to give some thoughts on that, maybe we'll tackle it, because I have a insanely long video coming up, and I still need to talk to Jacob about some other stuff, but just about consumption. So any words on that?
I mean, honestly, I hadn't really thought about that particular word in relation to these stories, and the entirety of the bibliography, but like after you started rattling them off, I was like, yeah, I can see how that would play a role. Yep, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, that is kind of a core tenet of a lot of King's writing, is that something is either literally or metaphorically eating this person up, or chewing them up and spitting them out in some sort of way. At first when I saw consumption, I thought you meant like consumerism and corporatism, and I was like, yeah, let's talk about that. But nobody,
Anarchy, baby.
yeah, nobody needs to hear me talk about that right now. But that's
Yeah.
another video. But yeah, I mean, there's certainly a through line there. Hard to deny it, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. I think we're on to something. Me and Jacob, I call him Jake, but me and I think we are on to something, especially things like needful things, how an item, the possession of something, can consume you. And there's a lot. In fact, I will forward you what Jake has sent me already, because he was just playing off of something I said in one of my videos. And then he has this huge list. But anyways, I'll forward that to you. Brad says, Mr. Doyle, have you watched Midnight Mass? And if so, what are your thoughts?
I have watched it. Midnight Mass is actually one of the like most recent series I've actually watched to completion, other than like The Boys, because I couldn't get enough of just the gory
It's so
superhero
good.
stuff.
It's so good.
Like it has political stuff. It's got over the top gore. It was action blockbuster material. So as far as Midnight Mass goes, I was pretty enthralled by that series. I could not stop watching it. It was
Yeah.
one of those I should have gone to bed 2 episodes ago kind of series for me, and I haven't had one of those in quite a while. I do not know the actor's name, but the guy that played the reverend, the father there at the church.
Oh,
Um,
Hamish Linkletter, I
okay.
believe is his name.
I thought he was fantastic, honestly.
Hamish Linkletter is his name.
I thought I thought
He's amazing.
Yeah, I thought honestly, as far as acting goes, there was only 1 or 2 kind of weak links in there for me.
Oh
But
yeah.
for the most part, like the overall themes and just the aesthetics of the show, I really vibed with it. It was a home run for me, honestly.
It was the closest. It's now my favorite TV show of all time. It
Yeah,
is the closest anyone has ever come to a Stephen King adaptation that wasn't a Stephen King adaptation.
amen.
And the whole way it was born, I don't want to get into too many details, but the whole way it was born was Flanagan couldn't do Salem's Lot. So he literally said, fuck it, I'm going to do what I want.
I'll do my own Salem's Lot.
Hmm?
I said I'll do my own
Yeah, I'll do
Salem's
my own.
Lot
So,
then.
okay, yeah. All I heard of that one was Salem's Lot. My apologies, but
It's
yeah,
all good.
it's I have massive respect for Flanagan, but we could do an entire fucking episode on Flanagan too.
Hell yeah.
Oh, thank you, Brad. You guys are the best. The love you have for your fans is overwhelming, and I'm so glad you guys decided to stream for us. I am beyond thrilled that first you bringing up Mr. Doyle, period. To have found it. I love the sense of discovery, and when I discovered you through Brad, it was that magic that I love so much. I'm like, this guy's fucking good. Like he has his ducks in a row. Also, another thing I respect about you, and I wanted to say this earlier, but the fact that you don't cut out all of your fuck ups. The funniest, I do the same thing. Where I will either make myself laugh or I will stumble on a word and be blah, 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 and you do the same thing. I love that about you, because this shit isn't that serious. We're making content for people to watch, and they don't want to just sit there and listen to us just ramble on about something with no entertainment value. So yeah, mad respect for that, because not everybody will do that. They'll edit out the I can't remember which one it was, but you were literally like,
Yeah,
yeah.
I made a decision early on because I was editing the video and I was just like, but that's the best part of the video. Like I was trying to be funny when I started the channel, and then like I was just like, I don't think I'm very good at writing jokes, so I'm just
I
gonna
don't know.
leave the
Gary was fucking
bloopers in.
hilarious to me.
I
That's
had
just
my
my opinion.
moments.
That's just
All
my
right.
when your ass popped up in that wig. I'm sorry. That alone was brilliant because I just opened up my entire like series wearing that stupid, and it's still a regret to this day, because it looked bad on me. I'm sweating. I got this yarn hair that my mother made for me. It's one of my I lost my mother in 2020, but
Yeah.
she made all the stupid little hats that I wore. In some of the videos, she made the
Hell yeah.
church hat
Yeah.
for Pet Cemetery, all that stuff. So they're prized possessions, but I look utterly fucking stupid. And it's like the things we do that we think are going to be good ideas, that sometimes they land, sometimes they don't. But I think what you were saying was, if you force it, it's not going to be good.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's the natural stuff that makes people laugh and people have fun with. All right, I'm gonna read the rest of them. Jake's got one at a timestamp of 10:06, and then I have to go. So four
All right.
more, and
All right.
we're gonna call it quits.
Sounds good.
And then I'm gonna ask you where they can find you and all that other good stuff.
Sounds good.
Who are some of your favorite and least favorite King characters? For me, I have to go with Tom and Nick from The Stand, Wireman and Edgar from Doomakey, and I could be here. I would say my favorite Stephen King character of all time, hands down, very controversial opinion, Holly Gibney. She is basically me with different body parts. So it's like a female version of me because I am that hyper focused on things. When I get into something, it's like a fucking laser pointer, and I can't be pulled. Once again, ADHD and a touch of the tism. That laser pointer gets on something, and I am hyper fixated. But for you, who's yours?
Ooh, that is a tough one.
It is.
Larry Underwood was always a favorite.
Baby, can you dig your man?
Yeah, he had like that underdog, character building arc where he like, you don't know which way he's gonna go, and then he ultimately, he goes the route of righteousness and
Yeah.
becomes a hero. And I feel the same way about Eddie Dean in that he's kind of a
Oh
similar
yeah.
character. So I'd say those are among my favorites. Least favorite. That's a
Oh, I
tough
didn't
one.
even give you my least, but yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
and I do want to say I've never understood
Sorry.
the Holly hate. I've never understood why
Neither have
people
I.
don't like Holly Gibney. I've always enjoyed her as a character. She's unique from all of King's other characters. It was something completely different, and I
Yeah,
appreciated it.
me too.
And I'm looking
I love
forward
that.
to the book. It's
Me too.
like 2 months away. 2 months,
Yeah,
maybe.
September or something.
Yeah, it's soon.
So yeah, 2 months. Yeah.
Least
Um,
favorite. Least favorite. I can't remember her name. Julie Lowry from The Stand. She was like the snotty, like
yeah.
she tries to get Nick to have sex with her, and then she gets
Yes.
all mad at him. And it's not because she was poorly written. I just think she's a bitch.
That's funny because I always think of her as Nadine Cross because I think the original series mashed those two characters together, and Laurie isn't even in the original series. I completely forgot that. It's been a while since I read The Stand.
She's not an integral part of the story,
No.
really. You could take her out for the most part. I mean, she does try to kill them at one point, if I'm not
Yeah, yeah.
mistaken.
She tries to shoot him from
Yeah,
the.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's right. That's right. I mean,
Um.
Nadine Cross is detestable because of
Oh
who
yeah.
she is as a character, but
But
is a
she
good
has an arc.
character.
Yeah, she has a
Yes,
great arc.
she
A very
does.
good arc.
She does.
As far as least favorite, I'm gonna get flack for this one, but we gonna be controversial up in this bitch. Randall Flagg. I hate
Mm,
Randall Flagg. I've never liked the character. He's the Crimson King's lackey.
just a
He,
bitch.
yeah, exactly. That's pretty much all he is. That's how I feel about it, and
Yeah.
everyone can disagree with me. I'm fine with that, but there is no there is nothing. Everything he does, he fails at, and I don't understand why the Crimson King bothers with him. Because, and I like Alan Pangborn too, but no, Bannerman It's Bannerman love around this place. I'm gonna tell you. No, Pangborn's great, but Bannerman is the OG motherfucker.
True,
So,
true, true.
anyways, but I like to joke about that. I'm like, we don't talk about Alan Pangborn right here. But anyways,
Not in this house.
I do like Alan. I do like Needful Things and that stuff. But I would say if anytime someone brings up their favorite Stephen King villain and they say Randall Flagg, it takes everything in my power to not roll my eyes into the back of my head, because he doesn't do anything right. Why does the Crimson King keep using him for shit? I mean, he's the Ageless Stranger. He's Walter. He's Andre Lenoge in my head.
Yeah.
He's Eve Black from Sleeping Beauties in my head. Black is in the name, man. Anyways, but that episode is coming up in a couple days, guys. Calm down.
Good.
And he's Flagg. He's all these things. He's even RF in the Quimby. I don't. Okay. Anyways,
I know.
But yeah, we're gonna leave that alone. That could be another whole episode. But I haven't even finished the series.
You know what?
And I read every single King book that comes out day one.
You just gave me my least favorite character. I couldn't think of who it would be. It's freaking Gwendy. By the end of the Gwendy trilogy, I'm like, oh, aren't you just so perfect?
Does she really go to space?
Yeah.
Oh my fucking
yeah.
God.
Oh my
I haven't
God.
read it. I refuse. I gave my favorite Rage review of all time is my review of that second book. I love the first one. I could feel King throughout the whole thing.
Yep.
But the second one was nothing but glorified fan fiction.
Yes.
Fuck off.
Yes.
Dick Jizmark. Anyway. Patrick. I know where this is going, and yeah, I've seen it, and I don't like it at all. Some booktubers get angry at me for correcting their mistakes. Some tell me to get a life, but Ian and Mr. Doyle both appreciated my feedback and don't take it personally. There's nothing to take personally. This isn't the thing. Is we have come so far as a society that we've gotten so backward as a society that mistakes are no longer tolerated. Yeah. People are going to make mistakes. And to have someone respectfully say, hey, you missed this, or that didn't actually happen, here's what actually happened, and here's the fucking evidence.
Yes, there's one thing Patrick's got, it's the evidence.
Yeah, he always brings his receipts, and I love him for it.
Yep, agreed.
But yeah, I don't like it either. But here's how famous you are in the Stephen King community. I get comments about you that are not comments on your comment. People bring you up. There's one guy who said there's a guy named Patrick who's always correcting people. I'm like, yeah, so they don't look like fucking idiots. What the hell is your problem? But Patrick, you are beloved around here, brother.
Damn straight.
You make my job so much easier. I do get frustrated when I see it. So if it takes me a couple days to heart your comment, it's because I'm pissed off at myself. And I'm sitting back stewing, going, God damn it, why is he always going to be right?
You know, okay, the one thing that Patrick never did, though, is be like, you dumb fucks. You know, he never name called.
Exactly
he
my
never
point.
Came in like the Kool-Aid man, like, listen here, motherfuckers.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. He was always chill. And like, if people can't see that, then, oh, we got permission for you to send me the tattoo, I see.
Yes.
Excellent.
That's what I was going to bring up next. Yes. Midnight Mass is legit the best Salem's Lot adaptation, in my opinion. It's so true, though.
Totally right, Jacob.
It's funny because even watching that show is like a literary experience, because you have long, luscious monologues. Yes. Where you are getting that narrative in your head that you would normally be getting while reading. And that's where I think Flanagan nails Stephen King and everything that he does, is he gives you that narrative feeling of reading a book. Absolutely fantastic.
Yes.
Let's see here. We got to go, guys. This has been so much fun. Mr. Doyle, are you going to make any more covers of songs?
So this must be in regards to the Stand By Me cover that I shared. I don't have any plans to at this time. What I am planning to do is upload all of the music I've made for the channel so far, which is over 100 tracks, onto Bandcamp for people to just listen to and download for free. And
Dude,
then
that's so rad of you.
I have my band Enormous Little Things has 2 albums on Spotify if you want to check those out.
Hang on.
Yeah.
Pause just for a
Pause.
second. Keep
Hold it.
that
Okay.
rolling.
Yep.
But I
Yep.
want to put down Enormous Little Things.
Yep. And then I have another band called Back Alley Dentistry, which can be found on YouTube and Bandcamp. That one's not on Spotify. But if you Google either of those, that's the only things that are going to come up.
Okay, so this might be a little bit of a reach, but that's what I do. Back Alley Dentistry. I have a character in one of my novels called the Rest Stop Dentist. Yeah,
that's pretty similar.
That's. I'm telling you, brother. I'm telling you. Anyways, so guys, this has been an absolute pleasure. I am going to let him tell you where all you can find him. I let him finish up talking about the bands if you need to, and then we're gonna take it. We're gonna take it to the house. But no more questions. I want to answer your questions, but we're definitely. I don't want to say definitely. We're gonna do this again, right?
Oh, absolutely.
We're
I've had a blast.
We're doing this again.
Definitely.
That's awesome. Okay, so either continue on with the band stuff or just tell everybody where they can find you.
You can legitimately find me pretty much only on YouTube these days. A Great Undertaking. I'm on Instagram. I don't actually use it. I have a Facebook page. I have never used it. I do not have Twitter. I do not have Threads. I just don't have time to deal with any of that stuff. So just find me on YouTube and throw me a sub, and I'll give you a big thumbs up in the comments when you leave me a little something. But yeah, that's it. I'm monetized now, kind of ish. I don't know. I don't understand what's happening, but they like had me apply for the partner program, and I was approved. So we'll see what happens. But I don't know. I didn't really start it to make money, so I'm like not going to do the memberships or any of that shit.
It's
really.
nice though. It's not the only reason I have memberships turned on my channel. I have I think 6 people total.
Yeah.
And the only reason why is because people literally harassed me for like 6 months. It's like, turn on memberships so we can start a Patreon, do this, that, and the other. It's like, I have a Patreon, but that's for my books, and I don't want to keep track of another damn thing.
Yeah.
So I turned on memberships. I don't do anything as far as memberships are concerned. They don't give special emojis
like
or any of that
stuff.
Yeah, it's just if they want to support me, they can.
Cool.
If not, that's fine too. But
cool.
Yeah. Anyway, so you heard him. You heard the man. Run over to his channel now, sub if you haven't already. Hopefully you already have. But this has been an absolute blast, man. We'll get together afterward and we will go and we will talk about when we want to do this. I'm thinking probably once a month. I don't know. It depends on I don't have a schedule, but he does. So we definitely work around his schedule, and we will have some themed episodes. This was a getting to know you session. I knew it was going to go well. I said it before we even went live. I was like, yeah, this is going to be the easiest work I've ever done. But anyways, and it's not work. That's not what I was getting at. But
no, it's a good time.
Yes, definitely. Thank you guys, everybody, for stopping in and listening to us just have fun. And that's the most important thing I believe about this platform, period, is that we can get together and we can talk about the things that we like, the things that we don't like, and we can respectfully disagree when we do disagree. But until next time, all hail the chair. Thank you again for stopping by, Mr. Doyle. Anything else you want to say?
Thanks to everybody who joined us here, and I'll see you on the channel. Thanks, chair.
Right. Bye-bye.